In this course, you'll go to the farm. The farm stack is FastAPI, React, and GraphQL. Beck Brace will teach you how to use this stack to make a full stack web app.
Hey, what's going on guys? This is Beck Brace. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the Farm Stack course. In today's course, the technologies that we're going to be using are some of my favorite ones. We're going to work with FastAPI, React.js, and MongoDB, which are the components of the farm stack. And you probably have heard of this suffix stack in other terms, like the MERN stack, which stands for MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. And what's meant by stack simply is a set of technologies that you can use together to create a web application, for instance. So farm stands for FastAPI, React, and MongoDB. And we're going to build our app using FastAPI for the backend server, React for the front-end client, and MongoDB for the backend database server. So this is for data persistence. And in my opinion, farm stack resembles the mean stack or the MERN stack even. The only difference is the FastAPI, because React and MongoDB are the same in the three stacks. In mean we use Angular and Node.js, and in MERN we use React and Node.js. FastAPI, of course, is a modern and a fast web framework for building APIs, created by Sebastian Ramirez, and this uses ASGI. And ASGI stands for Asynchronous Server Gateway Interface, and this is just the interface between your application and the server. And the response time is lightning fast, and this is one of the big advantages of having ASGI server implementation on your side. Also, FastAPI, one of its biggest features, that it supports coroutines and concurrency without the need to import the async.io module in Python. And in a way, it's faster than Express, which is Node.js framework. And Express is the E in the mean and MERN stacks, as we said. So FastAPI also has interactive API documentation, and it helps you testing the different HTTP requests like get, post, put, and delete visually using OpenAPI, which is itself based on JSON schema. And I have a full crash course on FastAPI. You will find a card appearing now if you're interested to check it out. React, of course, is the most famous JavaScript front-end library for building user interfaces, especially SPAs or single-page applications. As per the Stack Overflow survey for 2020, React.js is just below jQuery. So as you can read here, that jQuery is still king, but is slowly losing ground to React.js and Angular year over year. As per the most loved framework, it's just the second after ASP.NET Core, and the most wanted actually is React.js, the most wanted in the market. And I will leave the link to the surveys for Stack Overflow in the description section below if you would like to check out other statistics. It's very interesting. You'll find here that the most dreaded language is VBA, and I've been working with VBA for some time now at work, especially the debugging system. It's really awful, so no wonder that it's the most dreaded language. All right, following that, Objective-C, Perl, Assembly, C, PHP, and so on. So surprisingly, Rust is the most loved language. Following that, TypeScript, then Python. But actually the most wanted language on the market is Python, followed by JavaScript, then by Golang. And I also have a React tutorial for beginner backend developers. You will find a card appearing now. Check it out if you like. Last but not least, we need data persistence. So we will be using MongoDB, which is the letter M in farm. And I never did a tutorial on MongoDB on the channel, so this is the first one, and I'll try to be as much detailed as I can. And I've received a few requests to create a crash course on MongoDB and MariaDB. So MongoDB course is almost ready and will be uploaded soon. MongoDB is a NoSQL database management system, and NoSQL stands for not only SQL, and it's based on what we call the document model, or collections of documents. So if in the normal SQL system like MySQL, Postgres, or Oracle, if you have a table, if you have first a database that consists of different tables, and each table has some rows and columns, here in the NoSQL world, you have a collection of documents. And a document is just a file written in JSON format and converted to BSON, or binary JSON, which is the zeros and ones for the computer to compile and understand. So in SQL world, if you have a database of different tables, and each table has a set of rows and columns, in MongoDB, you have a database also, but it consists of collections that consist of documents, and each document has different fields like ID, name, last name, for instance. All these are fields in MongoDB document. Last word I would like to say about MongoDB, that it was created in 2009 and it's the leading NoSQL system on the market now. So enough me talking, and let's go ahead and start by creating our application. Our application basically is a CRUD application. So the front end is going to send HTTP requests to the backend. The backend is going to fetch all the data from the database in MongoDB. The MongoDB is going to send the data to FastAPI to the backend server. Then the backend server, using Axios technology, will send the response to the React front end, which you will be seeing on the screen. So from front end to backend, then backend to front end. All right. You will need obviously to have Python installed. You will need also Node.js because we will need npm in order to create our React application. As far as MongoDB, you will need to have an account on MongoDB Atlas. So you can click on Start Free, and you will fill the data here, your company, how are you using MongoDB, your email, first name, last name, and password. And once you do that, you will have here, look, included with your free cloud database, you will have one free tier to have a cluster of computers with 512 megabyte of storage. Okay, it's not physical computer, but logical one. So you'll have shared RAM, you'll have 512 megabytes of storage, highly available replica sets, end-to-end encryption, automated patches, and REST API. Okay, all of that is included in your free tier. All right, so once you log in, you will not find this in clusters. You will find a green button in the middle telling you to create a new cluster. Okay, so this is cluster 0. This is here how to connect your collections. And we said that collections is the equivalent of tables in SQL world. You can also have another cluster, but I'm not going to do it because you're allowed only with one cluster. I have my region here in Belgium because I live in Poland, and I've already tried the one in Germany, but it was not so efficient. So I created a new one with Belgium with Google Cloud. Okay, you will have different options. So let me show you. You will have Google Cloud, you will have Azure. I used Google Cloud, as you can see here, and I used the one you can see here, that free tier available. All right, if you're in Brazil, in the US, in Australia, Finland, all of these are free, the ones only with the free tier available tag. And once you know what you want to choose, you can click on it and create free cluster. I can create another one because I already have a free tier, a free cluster. And you can see here that they charge you for a second one for $0.44 per hour. All right. Yeah, but it's just pretty straightforward. You will choose whatever, and then you will hit on create cluster. It will take some time to deploy, and you will be ready to go. How you can connect is by clicking on connect, and you will have different tools. So you can connect to your application. You can use the Mongo shell, which is just a simple terminal to interact with your database using command line, and using the MongoDB Compass. I highly recommend that you install the Compass and the shell. So we're back to the MongoDB homepage. You can go to software, click on community server, and you'll find here on premises, all right, MongoDB locally. So you have MongoDB community server. You can download that. So MongoDB offers both an enterprise and community version of its powerful distributed document database. So don't mind the enterprise, just focus on the community server. So you can download that. It's a Microsoft installer, MSI file. So this is the first thing you need to do. Also, you need to go to developer tools, and here you can download the MongoDB Compass and the MongoDB shell. Okay, so MongoDB Compass, and you can click here on try it now, and it took you back to the tools, and you can download it here. And the same thing goes to MongoDB shell. And if you're not sure how to do that, please let me know in the comment section below, and I will create a quick video to show you how to set up everything in the path, all right, in the environment variables. So once everything is installed properly, you can go ahead and type MongoDB version, and you will get this DB version 4.46, okay, with this JSON data, okay, the version, get version, and so on. Also, to access the MongoDB shell, you can go ahead and type mongo sh, and you can take a look to the available databases. So you can say show dbs, and you will get the default databases provided by MongoDB. Okay, and let me show you the MongoDB compass. So this is how it looks like. So in order to connect, we can say MongoDB : //127.0.0.1 or localhost on port 27017. Click on connect. Okay, if you want to create a database, you can create that easily. Let's say, for instance, we will have a database with the name of sales. Let's have a collection of employees, for instance. Okay, and create database, and immediately you have your sales database created. And if you will refresh here, show dbs, you'll find that the sales has appeared here. So let's roll up our sleeves and start by creating our backend server with FastAPI. Welcome back. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a folder that will contain both backend and front-end folders. So let's go to the desktop and let's create a folder, farmstack_project. First, we will care about the backend folder. So let's create that. And let's open this with Visual Studio Code. All right, great. So the first thing that I want to do here is to create requirements.txt. And this is for the dependencies. And we'll need to have 3 dependencies. So the first one is FastAPI, obviously. So FastAPI with version 0.65.1. Also, I will need UVcorn. And UVcorn is just a fast ASCII server implementation that helps in the interaction between your application that we're going to build and the backend. So this is the core of FastAPI, especially that FastAPI is an asynchronous framework which heavily depends on async await syntax, and therefore the use for an ASCII server was essential. So the version is 0.14.0. And also I will need Motor, and Motor is 2.4.0. Motor actually is a full-featured non-blocking IO MongoDB driver. So this works for Python in general, and it's working with FastAPI, of course, in our case, and also works with Tornado framework. Tornado is also an awesome asynchronous framework, and Motor works with all kinds of async IO applications as MongoDB driver. So this is what Motor does. All right, so let's go ahead and activate our virtual environment. I use pipenv. If you don't have pipenv installed, you can install it via pip install pipenv. All right, but I have it already, so I will not do that. Let's go ahead and activate that by saying pipenv shell. All right, great. Now we have our virtual environment activated and the pip file is created. But still we will need to install the dependencies. So what we're gonna say is pipenv install -r requirements.txt. All right, and hit enter. And let's close the requirements. We don't need that anymore. And I will need 3 files. First is main.py. So main.py. I will need also one for the database. I will call it database.py. And the third one for the model, just to create our main to-do class. All right. So let's go ahead and start importing from FastAPI. I want to import fast with a capital F, API all capitalized. And also I want to import something very important, which is called course middleware. So from fastapi.middleware.course, all right, I want to import CORS middleware. And CORS stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. I talked a lot about this in all our Django projects. CORS refers to the situation when your front-end client, which is running on the browser, it has naturally JavaScript code. This JavaScript code communicates with your backend. In our case, communicates with our FastAPI backend server. And in this case, the backend is in a different origin than the front end. And origin simply is just the combination of protocol, domain, and port. So you can see here that the protocol can be either HTTP or HTTPS, domain, for example, our local host or whatever, and the port might be any port. So React will have, for example, port 3000, and our FastAPI will have a port of 8000. And we will need some sort of permission for the backend to interact with a different origin, a different port in this case. So this is what we're going to do. Okay, let me just close that. And let's just instantiate the FastAPI class by creating an object called app. Okay, so this is app object. And here I want to specify the origins. So in this case, the local host on port 3000 of React. And if you won't do this, there will be no connection between both. There will be no permission, okay, for the headers, the methods. So we will need to allow headers and methods. Okay, so in the origins, this is going to be a list with https ://localhost column 3000. Next thing that we want to do is we want to take our app object and we want to add the middleware. Add middleware. This one. Okay. So this method will take, first of all, the CORS middleware. CORS middleware. Next, I want to allow origins to be equal to the origins list. Also the credentials. We will set it to true, and I want to allow methods. We will set it to everything or star, and also we want to allow headers. And let's just go ahead and create a basic route. So app at app, this is the decorator dot get method, and just type / this is an empty route basically. We want to create a method or function. We'll call it readRoute. And we want to return something like, let's say, ping pong. All right, so let's check out first if the main page is working or not. And in order to run the server, we'll say uvcorn main app, and I want to work on a reload mode. So you don't have to disconnect from the server and reconnect again in order to see the changes on the application. This happens instantaneously once you refresh the page. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and open that, and we get ping pong. Now, the cool thing about FastAPI that you can access this document, it's called Swagger UI. And I've talked about this many times in all my FastAPI projects on the channel. In the course, I have also another video on FastAPI's introduction, and I showed everything in details about the Swagger UI, right? So make sure to check that out. All right, great. So this is good, but this is useless to us. It's just to make sure that the server is responding. So basically, in a to-do application, we need four main operations, right? The CRUD operation. So we need to read all to-dos. We will need to post a to-do, update, and delete. And we can also get a to-do by ID. If you want a specific to-do, you can get it by its ID. All right. So let's work on that very quickly. Let me just minimize this for now and maximize this. So let's have another decorator dot get, and here we want to access API / to-do. Let's now work with the async await code. So we will define a method. We will call it get to do and open close paren column. And for now, we'll say return just 1. So I will need the same code basically for the to-do by ID. So here I want to have an input of ID. All right, so I need the to-do by this specific ID, and I will change the method naturally. So we can say get to-do is the same by ID, and here I will pass the ID as a parameter or an input. I also want to post an ID, so it's the same code as the get, but instead of get, we will change that to post, and here we'll say post to do, and we will pass the input as to do. I want also to update and delete, right? So I will need two more functions. Okay, so let me just organize this a little bit. So here I want to update the to-do by its ID. So I will need to enter the ID of the to-do that I would like to modify or edit. And here I want to change the method. We'll say put to-do. And instead of to-do, we want the ID because we want that ID to change. And I want to change the actual data of that to-do. And last but not least, we want to delete a to-do. Okay, so also to-do by ID. If we want to access a specific to-do item and we want to delete it, so I need to specify the ID for that. And here I will change the method. We'll say delete. And instead of to-do, I want to delete that to-do item with that specific ID. FastAPI object has no, put. There's no HTTP request called update. There are get, post, put, and delete. All right, so we're good to go. Let's actually take a look to what we have. Let's refresh the page, and boom, we have all the methods that we have created. So we have get all to-dos, post a to-do, get to-do by ID, put to-do, and delete to-do. All right, perfect. So far, so good. Now what I want to do is I want to go to model.py, and I want to import from Pedantic. And Pedantic actually helps you to auto-create your JSON schemas from the model. So we're going to create a class now, and it works like an object relational mapper. So it will take from the model and will connect with our database that we're going to create in a second. So we want to import base model class. Then I want to create a class called to-do with base model as a parameter. And I want two things only. I want a title, which is a string, and I want a description, which is also a string. And that's all what I need to do. So let's close model.py and let's work on our database now. So here what I want to do is to import the to-do class from the model.py. So from model, I want to import to-do. And also I want to import the motor module. So import motor underscore asyncio. Okay, so this is the MongoDB driver. All right, and let me just open the MongoDB compass, so everything will be clearer to you guys. But in the meantime, I want to create a client object, and this is going to be equal to motor underscore asyncio, and I want to access the asyncio motor client, this one right here. And this is essentially for the connection between the database.py and MongoDB. So we will need to pass in a string MongoDB : / and localhost : 27017, which is the default port for MongoDB, as we said before. This is column. All right, so this is a very important step, and we have our MongoDB compass is ready, but we will leave it for now. let's continue. Let's actually create a database. I will call it just a database. And this is going to be equal to our client dot our database. Let's call it to-do list. And inside our database, we want to create a collection. So our collection, which is the same thing as a table in SQL. So the collection is going to be equal to the database, and we want to have a name for the collection. Let's call it just to do. All right, so we have a database called to-do list, and we have a collection which is called to do. All right, great. Now let's go ahead and work on our main functions. So the first function that I want to create here is to fetch one to do. So we'll say async def, and I'm going to say fetch one to do, and it's going to take the title as an input. And here the document is going to be equal to the collection dot find one, and I want to specify the title to be equal to whatever title is going to be entered. Okay, so the title is set to whatever title here. And here also I want to await for that. All right, and then I want to return that document. Okay, so this is the first get. So we want to get one to do. There is no dot here. So in order to get one to do, we get it by title, and take a look to model. This is the title or the ID, which is set in our function in the main.py file. Okay. So I hope that's clear for you guys. Next, I want to get all the to-dos. So we'll say def fetch all to-dos. And I don't want any parameters. And let's create a list of to-dos, and let's declare a variable called cursor, and cursor is going to be equal to the collection dot a method called find. And what we want to do essentially is to loop over any document in the cursor. So let's again use the async keyword for document in cursor. I want to append in the to-dos list whatever to do with any document. Okay, so this is basically the data that I'm going to retrieve, and I want to return everything in that collection. And finally, I want to return all the to-dos. All right, so don't forget that this to-do is the main class that we have defined in the model.py. Next thing that we want to do is to create a to-do. So let's actually create a to-do by defining create to-do function. And here we want to take a to-do as the main parameter or main input. So the document is going to be equal to the to-do. And oops, what did I do? Async. Then I want to declare a result variable in order to await for the collection to insert that document in the collection. So let's await for the collection to insert one. This is a method called insert one. And we will insert whatever document that we're going to create. Okay, whatever post or whatever to-do item that we're going to create. And also I want to return that document. Next, we want to update a to-do. So async def, and we will call it update to-do. And this takes the title and the description. Okay, both are set in the model class, in the model.py, in the to-do class. Okay, and by the way, if you're wondering what's insert one method, what's that, find as well, these are MongoDB functions or methods. Okay, so we are writing MongoDB code actually inside our Python file. So the motor module, which is the MongoDB driver, helps us to connect the database.py file with our MongoDB database. All right, so let's get back to our code. So await the collection to another MongoDB method called update1. So how MongoDB works when we want to update one item? We want to choose a specific item. And in order to do that, we will need to have a criteria. So which item do we want to update? In this case, we want to choose by the title. So the title, whatever title is set to. And next I will have the actual item that I want to update. So I want to use the set operator by using the $set. This is inside double quotes. And this is set to whatever the description that I'm choosing and the actual description that I'm updating. So we will have another set of curly braces. And here I want the description that I have chosen to update for the actual description that I want to enter or update. All right, I hope you guys following. Then I want to render that document or return that document. So I will declare another variable called document to await the collection .find one with the title that corresponds to that item that I have updated. Okay, and we'll return that document. All right, so this is the update to do. The last method is to delete a to-do. So I'm going to call it remove underscore to-do. And it takes a title as a parameter. So if we want to delete an item, we should enter the title first. And let's await for the collection to delete one, which is another MongoDB method. And we'll set the title to be equal whatever is the title that we have entered. And we want to return a Boolean value and we'll set it to true. All right, great. So let's save that. And let's go ahead to main.py in order to modify these functions that we have created based on these functions in the database file. All right, so this is 3000, the React.js port. I want to import also from FastAPI HTTP exception. And this is just for errors and exceptions. So actually this class, what it does, it generates some exception information for us. All right, perfect. Then what I want to do now is to import from database all the functions that we have created. So let's actually go to database.py and let's take this from here, copy. So this is the first one. All right, so we have imported the functions from database file. Next, what we want to do is to work on these methods. And let's start by the get to do. In order to return just one, we want to have a response, right? So response is going to be equal to await for fetch all the to-dos, which is, there you go. All right. One of those functions that we have created in database.py. And you can see here that this actually returns a coroutine. All right. And I've talked a lot about coroutines, concurrent code, concurrency in general in different videos before. I will leave all the links in the description below. You can check them out. So we want to fetch all the to-dos and we want to return the response. The second function is to do by title. So we'll substitute the ID with the title. Okay, and we want the response model to be equal to the to-do class. So the response model is equal to the to-do class in our model.py file. And here also, instead of ID, we want a title. Let's have a response as well. And our response is going to be equal to fetch want to do by title, and don't forget the await. And I want to handle exceptions, so I will say if response means if response is true, we don't have any errors, then we will return the response. Otherwise, we will raise an HTTP exception, and this is going to be 404, and the 404 is a status code for page not found. Then what I want to say is there is no to-do item with this title. All right, let's actually make it nicer. So let's put format string, and let's return that title, whatever title that we're trying to retrieve. So let's move on to the next function, which is posting a to-do. I want also the response model to be equal to the to-do class. And here I want to set the to-do to be equal to the to-do class. And I want to take that to-do, take a look here, we have set the document to to-do, and we are going to insert a document in the collection. So this is a JSON, but we want to convert that to a dictionary. In order to do that, we will declare a variable called response, and response is going to be equal to the create to do function that we have defined. And I will take the to do and I will convert it to dictionary. And again, I want some exception handling. So response, then we will return the response. Otherwise, I want to raise HTTP exception, and here we'll say we'll enter 400. Something went wrong. By the way, 400 is the status code for bad request. Okay, so you can type something went wrong or bad request. All right, the next function that we want to modify is put to do. So we want to change the ID by, let's actually change all IDs by title. We will take the response model also, and we will set it to the to-do class. And for the main function, we want the title, we will set it to string, and also the data, we will set it to string, and data also we want to change it to description or desk. In the database, in the update function, you see here title and desk. So the response is going to be equal to the update to do function, and this takes the title and the description. And also I want some exception handling, so again we can take this one and we'll paste that here with the same status code 404. And last but not least, we have the delete function. So let's remove that, and let's have a response as usual, and we will take the remove to do function, and we will remove the item by the title. If you remember, here we have set the title. And also I want some exception handling, so if response is returned is okay, we want to return a message saying that successfully deleted to do item. Otherwise, we want to raise exception. We can take this one. We'll paste it here, and that's basically it. So we have the delete, the put, the post, get to do by the title, by ID, and get all to dos. All right, cool. We are pretty much done with our database side. Now let's go ahead and check out the Swagger UI or the FastAPI docs and how we can connect it to the MongoDB database. And we'll see this interaction with the MongoDB compass. All right, so let's do it. All right, so we have here our FastAPI docs or the Swagger UI where we can interact with our database. And I have on the other side my Mongo Compass is opened, and let me show you. Actually, I was connected. Let me disconnect for the moment and show you what I did. So as I showed you at the beginning of the tutorial, you can copy MongoDB : / localhost. All right. And connect, and boom, you're connected. And here you have the to-do list that we have created, and this is because of the Motor MongoDB driver. So let's actually try that out. Let's go ahead and try to post a to-do. So let's say to-do item 1, and in the description, let's say for instance, walk the dog. Execute. All right, we didn't have any problems. So let's check that out here in the to-do list. To do, and boom, we have to do item 1, walk the dog. All right, let's reset, cancel, let's close that. And let's check out here in the get to do's. So try it out, execute, and we have the same to do item 1, walk the dog. Let's have another one, for example, posts, and let's say to do item 2, and here let's say run 2 kilometers. All right, then let's execute. Okay, cool. Let's refresh here, and boom, to do item 2, run 2 kilometers. All right, so it's working perfectly. Our FastAPI backend server is interacting with MongoDB database. All right, so let's delete to do. It should be the same as in the title. So let's say that I want to delete to do item 2. So to do item space 2, execute. All right, successfully deleted to do item. And if we will refresh, it disappeared. All right, so in the next part, we're going to move on to fleshing out the front end with React.js. Welcome back. So as our backend is working perfectly and interacting with the MongoDB server, we will now need to create our front-end side, and we will make it communicate with the backend. So let's go ahead and create our React app, and I will use create React app CLI for that. But before, we will need to go to desktop, and we will need to access farm stack _ project folder. All right, and just to make sure that we have only one folder, which is the backend. And now we can use that command npx, which stands for node package execute. And I will use create React app. And for more information about Create React app, please check out the card that will appear right now. And this will take you to a React and Django video tutorial for backend developers. So there I talked a lot about Create React app, what it is and what it's doing for your project. Following that, the name of the project or the name of the folder. So we will call it front end. And the installation of the project is going to take some time. So I will pause the video here and I will be back when it's all done. All right, cool. So we have our front-end project ready. In order to run it, we need to cd to front end, or to change directory to front end folder, then npm start. All right, great. So this is the default React application. The development server is running on port 3000 or listening on port 3000. Just before we go on, I need just to exit the server, and we will need to install two things. The first is Axios. So sending requests from the client to the server and getting the responses from the server or the backend server to the client is the role of Axios. Also, we need Bootstrap. So Bootstrap, and yeah, that's all. Oops, what did I do? npm install Axios Bootstrap. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and open that with Visual Studio Code. Let's cd out and open the whole folder with Visual Studio Code. By the way, this JS hint has been bothering me for some time. If you have the same issue or if you dealt with this issue, please let me know, because I've installed JS hint globally, but seems that nothing happened really. But I think it won't affect our project, so let's ignore that for the moment, and let's go ahead and import bootstrap /dist /css /bootstrap.min.css. All right. Just to import bootstrap, this is the first thing we need to do in index.js. Okay, and that's pretty much it for index.js, which is the main entry point for our application. In app.js, we're going to spend most of the time. I want to actually get rid of all of that, and let's just type hello world farm stack. All right, cool. Let's delete the logo. We don't need that. So you see, even if you have here a red line, yellow line, it really doesn't affect anything. It's just, it's annoying really. If you happen to know the solution for this, please let me know in the comment section below, because I really couldn't find a suitable solution to solve this problem. So let's get rid of everything. We will leave the app. Let me actually delete all of that. I will leave the app. This is the class name for the app application. It has a class name of app. So here we will have some just general settings. So the text align, we'll leave it to the center. Margin, we'll give it 0. Padding, we'll set it to 0. And font family, we will use this one. All right, and that's all. So we'll close the app.css and let's go ahead and work on the app files. So I just delete that, or we will leave it. We'll leave it just for sanity check. So before we do anything, we will need to import React first, right? So you just make this bigger for you guys. So we will import React. Also, we will need two functions, useState and useEffect. From React. We also want to import Axios from Axios. And also we want to import the bootstrap. So let's go here. We'll import bootstrap. Let's first work on the visual side, then we will work on the logic. So let's go ahead and have a div with class name of app. We'll list group item. These are bootstrap classes. Also, we want to justify content center, align items center with a horizontal margin set to auto. So in order to add styling to JSX, we will have double curly braces, and inside you can enter whatever style that you want. So I want to set the width to 400 pixels. And also I want the background color to be white and the margin top to be 15 pixels. And inside that div, I will have a title with h1 tag. We will call it task manager. All right, great. So this has a class name of CRUD with text white, primary background, which is the blue one, and margin bottom set to 1. Below the task manager, I want to add h6 tag with 3 words, FastAPI, React, and MongoDB. Then I will have another div with a class name of CRUD body. Inside that main div, I want to have an h5 tag with a class name of CRUD, and I will say add your task. This has a dark background with margin bottom 3, and the text is white to have the contrast. The next thing that I want to do is to create 2 input fields, one for the title and the other one for the description, and a button. This button is to add your task. So in order to do that, I will wrap everything around a span. This span will have a class name of card text. So this is the first input, And this is the second input for the description. So both they have MB2 or margin bottom 2 with form control with different names, title in and DES in. And both they have placeholders. So one with title and the other one with description. The next element in our application is the add task button. So it has a class name of BTN with BTN outline primary. Alright, so I've given it a border radius with 50 pixels to give it that rounded shape around the button, and also set the font weight to bold. And this is everything inside the span. So the idea here is when you will enter the title and the description and you will add the task will appear below here with one button only, which is the delete. Below the span and on the same line with the add your task h5 tag, I want to add another h5 tag with your tasks. Let's actually give the button some margin bottom in order to have some space. So MB we will set it to 2. That's better. And then what we want to do is to display all of your to-dos below your tasks. Alright, so let's have a div. Inside that div, we should plug all of our to-do items. And this should be an external component. And down here below, I want to create a copyright mark. And you're free to change the colors if you want, of course. This has a background of warning, which is the yellow one, right? With a class of CRUD, text dark, BG warning, padding Y on the vertical axis with 1, and margin bottom of 0. Just don't forget to delete that div below and that one, because I've written it again. Okay, so it's the same thing. Once we save, nothing will change. Alright, so before we move on and create our components folder with the different components, there are a couple of things that we need to do in our function. The first thing we need to do is to create different variables. One for the to-do list, one for the title, and another one for the description. And all of them will be set to useState. So set to-do list will be set to useState with an array of empty object. And inside here we will append items each time you will add a task. Also we will set the title and we'll use the state for just empty string, nothing for the moment. The same thing goes for the description. And once you add a title and description, hit add task, everything here will change. So this is the usefulness of useState function. The next thing we want to do is to read all the to-dos. For that I will use useEffect method, and we will use useEffect in order to accept the HTTP request methods like get, post, and so on. So the first thing we want to do is to read all of the to-dos, and this what we'll do is that it will send a GET request to the FastAPI backend server. Okay, then this callback will return a promise, and we handle promises with .then. And having a response as an input, we should access all the data inside that input or the response. All right, and all of that is wrapped inside the set to-do list that we have defined here above. And the last thing we need here is to post a to-do, to add a task actually when we click on the add task button. So this add to-do handler variable, which is set to a callback function, which doesn't take anything as an input, returns that post request. So the first parameter is the origin, so HTTP localhost port 8000 for the API and to-do, and we want to display the title for whatever title it is, and the same for the description. And then we have a callback as a response that goes for the response as an input, and we can console log res or we can just alert res. This is just for verification step. Now we will need to update both input fields and the add task button. All right, so the first input field, which concerns the title, we will update it with the onChange attribute. This takes an event as a parameter, then it returns setTitle, which we have set here above. And inside the setTitle, we have a parameter of event.target.value. The same exact thing goes for input. So input also, we will have onChange attribute with an event that set the description for event.target.value. Last but not least, we have the button. So for the button, we have add to-do handler function here. So the button should be updated in order to reflect the changes that will occur when we click on the button. And don't forget to re-add the margin bottom 3 in order to push the your tasks a little bit below. So this is pretty much everything that we need to do for app.js. The last thing that we need to do is to add the to-do items inside both div tags. So let's go ahead to our source folder and let's create a folder called components. And inside components, I will create a file. I will call it todo.js and another file called to-do-list-view.js. To-do-list-view.js. First of all, let's go to to-do and let's import Axios and React. Now I want to create a to-do item function that it will take as a parameter props. Inside that function, I will declare a variable called delete to-do handler. And I will set this to a callback function that takes title as a parameter in order to delete whatever to-do item that we want to specify by the title. And what we want to return actually is the item itself. And next to that item, we will have a delete button. So you can see here we have a div with a paragraph, span with a style, and we will enter or we will plug the props.todo.title. So the title first, and this is going to be bold, then a colon, and then we want to have the description next to it. And then after we will have a button with onClick attribute is going to be set to a callback function, which doesn't take anything as a parameter. And it will return the delete to do handler function that we have created above here. Again, it will take props.todo.title. And why is that? Because we want to search that item in function of title. So the main criteria for deletion is the title. Also, we will have a class name with a button, and all of that is again bootstrap classes. So now we have our todo.js ready. We want to import that in the to-do list views.js. But before we do that, we need first to export the to-do item function. All right, in order to import it in the to-do list view.js. So we will import the to-do item from current directory, where is the todo.js. All right. And then I will need the function that I'm going to plug inside my app.js here. So all the items that will appear below should be created in our to-do list view.js. So let's go ahead and create that function. We will call it to-do view, and it takes props as a parameter. And what it will return simply UL or unordered list. And the props.todolist.map, which is one of the array methods like reduce, filter, and sort. And we're going to map whatever to do and plug it inside that to-do item. So that to-do item that we have imported from the todo.js here. All right. So this is how it's working. And let's not forget to export it. So in order to test everything together, let's go ahead and open our backend server. So we'll go to backend and UVcorn main app load. Okay, good. So it's listening on port 8000. So if we will refresh the page. Okay, cool. Just make this a little bit bigger. There is something very important that we forgot to do, is to import the to-do view from the to-do list. All right, so we'll need to do that below the bootstrap. And now instead of that comment, we will add our actual to-do item. All right, perfect. So we have our front end running on that instance of the terminal. And we will need also to open a new terminal instance for the backend. So UVcorn main app reload. Okay, great. So let's open our FastAPI Swagger. All right, so for the moment, our database doesn't hold any data. So this collection has no data, as you can see here in the MongoDB report. On this side, we have our backend server, our FastAPI server. This is the React application, our client. And here we have our database server, our MongoDB database server. So let's try to add a to-do item. So we'll say to-do 1, study Rust language, add task, and boom. To-do 1, study Rust language. All right, and if we will refresh here, we will have this document created in our database. So we will have an ID, which is very similar to the primary key in the SQL world. This is auto-generated by MongoDB. We'll have our title and description. All right, let's try to add another one. To do 2, run 10 kilometers, add task, refresh, the same, sleep at 9 p.m. add task, refresh, and so on. So you can see what's happening. If we'll delete, let's say, to do 2, delete it from here, refresh, it will disappear. Let's add another one. So let's say to do 4, sketching, add task, so it adds below. And if you will go to the backend, you will find the same information. So let's try to access actually API/to-do, and you will find all of our to-dos. All right, everything here. Similarly in the docs, when you will click on get to do, try it now or try it out, execute, you will find your to-dos in this JSON format. All right, and let's refresh that as well, so to be identical. Okay, so this was an introduction to the farm stack and how we can work with the 3 technologies. If you liked the video, please like it, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate your support, guys. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Take it easy.